Ministries, and the host. Are you still the president, Kirby?
I'm still the president.
Okay.
Still the host's point of view. You got
okay.
it.
I didn't want to make sure I was
Tim
correct
and John,
on
how
that.
you doing, buddy?
Okay.
Hey, doing great. Thank you.
Kirby, thanks for joining us again. A lot to talk about. By the way, before we get into this, I want to ask you about. We want to talk about the whole issue of what to do about the immigration issue and the illegal immigrants who are here, their families. How do we deal with this contentious problem? How do we do it in a humane way, but a fair way, a legal way? How do we keep our borders from being overrun with people? I mean, this is a very complex issue, I think, that our country is going to face now in the next year, 6 months to a year, in terms of how to deal with this from a law enforcement perspective and the law that will have to be enforced that will be passed by the Congress. But before we get to that, I just wanted your take on what's happening there in your city. I don't know how far the Boy Scouts of America office is from you. Where are they located?
Not too far, yeah.
Well, they've tabled this thing.
Of course, they basically, as I think most of the listeners to AFR would already know because of the news that you covered there, decided not to decide. So they postponed it till May. But I do believe that this is a great example, Tim and John, of why we need to make phone calls, why we need to send emails, because I do believe that if this happened years ago before we had some of the Christian talk radio shows, that decision would be made. People would be reading about it in the newspaper. They'd wring their hands and go, oh, well, that's too bad.
Right.
Instead, now I think we've at least been able to get the attention of some of the executive board and now maybe the entire board, and that decision that was imminent has at least been postponed.
Yeah, they're going to vote. They put off the board. The executive committee, as I understand it, of the board of directors of the Boy Scouts of America has tabled this issue of allowing openly homosexuals into the Scouts, even at a Scoutmaster level or whatever. I mean, throughout the organization, they're going to make this decision now in May with the, as I understand, sort of when the full board meets.
Right. What they'll do is they'll prepare some kind of resolution, and then they'll send it out to the voting members of the National Council. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is nuts. It's even this decision to wait is damaging to the Boy Scouts of America.
It is.
I mean, it is, because it shows they're weak. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to deal with this straight on. They need to tell these people to go away. We're not allowing open homosexuals in the Boy Scouts. It'll destroy our mission. It'll destroy our organization, and we'd rather go out of business than try to do something like this. But that isn't what they decided to do. But we'll see. The best thing, the most effective thing, I think, is for the the National Scouting Office to hear from Scouts and from people who have been in Scouting and from Eagle Scouts.
Yes.
And so they're based in the Dallas area. I have a phone number here for them. We've given it out many times. Mm-hmm. I haven't tried it this morning, so I don't know if their phone has been so ringing off the wall.
It has.
That it just
overwhelmed.
Yeah. They're getting more calls than Dallas Cowboys season tickets.
That's a really low bar.
Yeah, well, okay. Anyway.
How about Alabama?
Maybe so. Maybe than Alabama season ticket demand for Alabama season, or NASCAR tickets. That'd probably be the best way.
There you go. All right.
All right, but here you go. Here's the phone number to call the Boy Scouts of America. And always remember, be polite. Mm-hmm. The person answering the phone is not the one who's making the decision. They're just the receptionist. Okay, they'll just pass a message along, or you may ask to speak to someone in the administration there at the Boy Scouts of America. But this will ring Dallas, Boy Scouts Office of America office, and you can weigh in with them. The number is 972-580-2400. Right. 972-580-2400. And so give them a call. Mm-hmm. I know this is just breaking the hearts. I've talked to...
no, it's breaking my heart. I've got 2 Eagle Scouts in my family.
There you go, John.
Yeah, 3 of my sons will be Eagle Scouts. I got 2 that are, 1 that will be very, very soon. So, yeah, it's breaking my heart.
Morally straight.
That's right.
That's the Scout pledge, isn't it?
That's right.
Morally straight.
Mm-hmm.
Morally and straight.
Right.
Okay? Kirby, I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I'm asking a rhetorical question here. But, the gay and lesbian, transgender, and bisexual groups I don't know if they've added a word recently or not, but that's the 4 that we have now of sexual behaviors that are included in this group of people that push for their agenda, their political and social agenda. Why don't they just start Gay Scouting of America?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I was talking the other day with Robert Knight, who I think has written an excellent column in the Washington Times about this, Eagle Scout himself, by the way, and he points out that there actually is an organization that has started that actually allows boys to go into scouting that are atheist and homosexuals. But that, I think, illustrates the point. They don't want a separate organization. They want to destroy that organization. In other words, any one particular bastion which does not allow anybody with any kind of sexual orientation or any kind of religious perspective is seen as discriminatory, and so they will fight to the death to not have a separate but equal. They want to completely eliminate any kind of barriers in any area of life, public life or private life. Let's recognize Boy Scouts would fit into the category of the private sector, but that, I think, illustrates the aggressiveness of the homosexual lobby, and that's no surprise to either of you guys.
No. I'll tell you what we're going to do here, folks, just so you'll know the plan for this hour. Kirby's with us the whole hour. We're going to talk to Kirby, and John and I got questions for him till the bottom of the hour. Okay, then when we take our break, and then when we get back, then we'll open up the phone lines for the second half hour, and you can ask your questions of Kirby, because I want to get on this immigration issue, but I did want to just talk about the Scouts for a minute, because they have tabled a decision on whether to allow open homosexuals in their organization until May. So we won't know anything until May. And I just encourage you, if you're in scouting in particular, or you have family members, as John does, who are Eagle Scouts, my dad's an Eagle Scout, that you let your voices be known to those in authority at the organization. And as I understand it, what happens is you got some corporate bigwigs on the board of directors of the Boy Scouts of America, like the AT&T guy,
Ernest and Young,
and they're the ones who are pushing the Boy Scouts to do this. I don't know how much money AT&T, for instance, gives to the Boy Scouts, or if they do at all. But what could very well happen, as is the history of the world, is people get bought off.
Right.
Okay, and I'm not suggesting anything illegal by that. I'm just saying that if you depend on money for your survival, and you're worried that enough companies are going to pull out of helping you financially, you will some people surrender their principles. You understand what I'm saying? That happens, shockingly, on planet Earth, and so I just hope. That's what it appears to be going on here. It appears to be pressure from these AT&T chairman and others, Kirby, that may be giving money to the Boy Scouts.
Sure. Well, and I think, again, people could read the Robert Knight column. It was in the Washington Times 2 days ago, because he then talked about the salaries of those people in the Boy Scouts. The head of it, when you add up both his actual salary and then the benefits, he makes almost $1 million. Well, you can recognize that when you have your top 4 people that make almost $500,000, one makes nearly $1 million in salary, and they're talking about cutting back funding to the Boy Scouts, it might even affect their own salaries, and that certainly would focus their attention on whether or not they wanted to change the policy. So I think that's part of it, too.
Are these some of the Scout executives that are running the organization?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The actual numbers are in Robert Knight's column.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's pretty shocking. For those of us that have supported John, you and I, and others,
a volunteer
for the years,
organization.
we go, some people are doing quite well working in the Scouts, given the fact that the rest of us that are involved in it in one way or another are volunteers. But, that's a whole other story that people can read the column and come to their own conclusions. But Robert Knight got the goods on how much money goes to some of those salaries of those top executives.
So I guess you just go type in Washington Times and then type in Robert Knight's name.
Sure.
To find that article. We know Bob.
Certainly can.
Bob well.
Wow.
Interesting. You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim Wildman with Kerby Anderson as our guest from